Hey everyone, so today we will be making these fridge magnets with your initials on them for Valentine's Day, and also some rose magnets as well. So if you're interested, please keep watching. So we will start by tracing out a pattern onto a sheet of paper and then trace it onto some cardboard paper, and that will make it easy for you to draw on the fabric. Once you've done that, place the cardboard paper over top of the fabric and trace around it. Cut around the heart shape with a 1 centimeter margin, and then you're ready to sew. So you will start by sewing on the initials. You will take one piece of the heart, go to the good side, and then just do back stitch to make your initials. The sewing doesn't have to be perfect. After all, it's the thoughtfulness into the gift that really counts, not the craftsmanship. After you've sewn on the initials, we'll move on to the other part, which is adding the magnets. So you want to take the other piece of heart shape that you've cut out and pick your magnets. My magnets I purchased from the dollar store there are 12 of them for $1, obviously. But I decided to use some scrap magnets that I had just lying around my house, and so I've decided to place 2 of them in the center. After you've decided on the magnets, you're going to cut out another small piece of fabric and then cover that piece of fabric over the magnet. It doesn't have to be the same color fabric because this won't be showing on the outside anyways. You're going to begin by sewing without the magnet inside. And you want to sew a U shape so you can stuff the magnet inside once you've made a little pocket. Make sure you don't cut or tie the thread because we will keep on sewing. So you just want to leave that piece of thread just somewhere where it doesn't interfere with your work. After you've tucked in your small magnets, you want to feed a few more stitches onto the needle. Make sure you don't pull the needle through though, because we want to test this out to see if it actually holds before we sew it and make it final. So what I'm doing here is testing out to see that the magnet actually works, because the magnet, with every magnet, there's one side that's magnetic and also one side that's not. You want to make sure that you have the magnetic side facing outwards. And then go ahead and pull your needle through, tie a little knot, and then we're done. After you make sure that the magnets actually work, you want to sew them together, and then we can begin stuffing. So you want to place the 2 good sides, so the side without the small piece of fabric along with the side that has the good side of the initials. You want to put 2 of these sides together, facing together, and then you will begin sewing all the way around the heart shape. Make sure you leave a piece unsewn because that's where we will be flipping it inside out. I'm going to fast forward a little bit and just stuff it with the same pillow stuffing that I had for the Marlowe bear. And after you've done stuffing it, you can get the general idea of what your magnet's going to look like. So if you like the look of your heart, now you can go ahead and do the blind stitch. Basically, you want to hide the end of the thread inside the heart. And then you're going to pick up small pieces on both sides of the fabric. So one small piece from the top side, and then one tiny piece from the bottom heart shape. I'm playing this in very slow speed so you guys can see how exactly I sewed it together. After you're done, you just want to tie a knot and hide the little knot inside the heart by pushing it in between the stitches. So we are done! I've sewn on C heart E because the first letter of my boyfriend's name is E. It's going to be the first time that he gets to see this as well because I wanted to make it a surprise. If you see this, honey, I hope you really like it. And it's going to be on your fridge. Okay, so let's move on to the more complicated flower. I have some denim scraps left over from when I trimmed one of my jeans into shorts. So what I've done here is basically cut them into small, medium, and large petals. I'm showing here 6 small petals, 6 medium petals, and 5 large petals. I ended up using more than that. I actually used 10 large petals, 15 medium petals, and 6 small petals. Oh, and I forgot to mention that you're going to need a bead and also hot glue gun. So what I'm doing here is basically adding a dab of glue onto a small petal and then pushing the bead onto it. Make sure the whole of the bead isn't facing up because that's going to make it look ugly. After it's dried, you want to add another dab of glue onto the middle of the small petal and then push that upward. After that's secure, we're going to take another piece of the small petal and we're going to do the same thing. So one dab at the very end of the petal and one dab in the middle to make it into like an L shape just around the little bead. You can use as many small petals as you'd like for the center of the flower, but I thought 3 pieces was enough. So I used 3 pieces of the denim to make the perfect center for my rose. So I'm just finishing up the 3rd petal here, and then you can see the end result of the center. If you don't like the look of this, feel free to add more small petals to make it more of a fuller bloom. We want to make this flower look pretty, so I won't be overlapping any of the petals. For the 2nd layer of petals, I am just putting this petal sort of in between where the 1st layer of 2 petals ended. So just keep on adding more petals to your center of the rose. I am also alternating the good and wrong side of the denim fabric. So for some petals, I would glue them with the right side facing up, while others I would glue with the wrong side facing up. I'm just experimenting to see how this is going to look compared to one that has all the good side or the wrong side facing up. After you've done with the small petals, you can move on to the medium petals. It really depends on what you want your flower to look like. You can have maybe all large petals if that's the look that you want. It's really about, experimenting. So one trick that I found about giving this rose a fuller bloom is you want to give it a little squeeze after you've added the dab of glue in the middle. So what I'm showing here is just adding the glue, and then when you push it up, you want to give it a little squeeze like this to make it a little V shape so the petal flares out. I think this technique works best with the larger petals because the smaller petals, you don't really need them to flare out because it's the center of the rose. And after you've placed on the last piece of denim material, you want to arrange it, to make sure that it's actually the look you want. And then you're going to flip it over. And then we're going to add a round piece of denim right around the back. We're going to add a big blob of hot glue just in the center of the round piece of denim. And you can see here that I've made little snips along the edges. That's because I wanted to really cover the back and adhere to the shape of the flower. So you want to add a little tiny bit more of hot glue just around the edges and then push down the little flaps. The last step is adding the little magnet. This part is really simple, so you add a dab of hot glue onto the back of the magnet, and then you're going to push very hard down onto the rose and make sure that it really sticks on. And then we're done! And I'm also showing here a really random rose that I made with just leftover scrap material. I think this rose looks really pretty, well, I mean the bigger one, especially if you make them in batches. So if you make a whole bunch in random colors and materials and put them on your fridge, it's like you have a little colorful garden on your fridge. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to give this a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And anyways, happy Valentine's everybody! And if you like the look of this very cute bear, make sure you check out my earlier videos for Valentine's gifts. I will put a link onto the screen and also a link down in the description box. Thanks guys, bye!